The Omegang Brewery produces award-winning Belgian-style beers. The main ingredient, water. The brewery uses nearly 4 million liters a year, untreated from wells on their property in upstate New York.
Ask any brewer and they will tell you that beer depends on 4 simple ingredients, and the most important of those is water.
That's why President Simon Thorpe has joined efforts to ban a controversial form of gas drilling, known as hydraulic fracturing or fracking.
There is a growing understanding of the potential dangers of what the process could do, not only to the environment, but to business.
Natural gas companies have been buying up the right to drill on local farmland.
You're only hearing one side of the story.
Like many local farmers, Jennifer Huntington could use the extra money.
So some may not really understand all that's involved and the work that goes involved in the amount of money and capital to keeping this area beautiful and green, which is farmers is what we do.
The fracking process involves drilling down vertically and then horizontally. Millions of liters of water are mixed with an undisclosed list of chemicals and sand, all of it then pumped down into the well to fracture the rock and release the gas.
Whoa, Jesus Christ.
Dramatic footage like this, as well as anecdotal evidence of mysterious illnesses, have galvanized opponents.
Our water was good before they started drilling.
Even though the Department of Environmental Conservation says there's no proof of any well being contaminated by fracking.
Drill now!
The gas industry has been lobbying New York State to lift a moratorium on the process.
We believe there's an enormous amount of gas here. It will also, most importantly to me, provide for the economic sustainability of this area of our country.
New York has been holding a series of public hearings in cities and towns all around the state on newly proposed fracking regulations. Recent polls show that the state is pretty evenly divided on the issue, but opponents have been coming to these hearings in force.
They dispute both the amount of natural gas available and the economic benefits of drilling.
You can't look at how many jobs will be created without looking at how many jobs will be lost.
But even in a region that relies on its natural resources for tourism and other jobs, America's thirst for new energy sources will be hard to quench. Kristen, Saloomey, Al Jazeera, Otsego County, New York.
Well, Josh Fox is a filmmaker who directed Gasland. It's an Oscar-nominated documentary that looks at the environmental impact of fracking. And earlier, my colleague Lisa Fletcher in Washington spoke to him. But first, here's a clip from his film.
Watersheds across the nation have been contaminated with plastics, carcinogens, neurotoxins, and endocrine-disrupting chemicals. It causes massive land scarring, air pollution, a public health crisis, massive truck traffic, miles and miles of pipelines, blowouts, spills, accidents. It is a whole-scale industrialization. Now we face our most urgent crisis to date.
Fracking is part of a paradigm shift in fossil fuel development, which I'm calling, and many others are calling, extreme energy development. That is, forms of drilling for gas or oil that are ever more contaminating and dangerous and have never been proven safe. There is no track record for fracking which says that in this new form where they combine it with horizontal drilling and combine it with this incredible chemical mixture called fracking fluids at very, very high pressures, there's no evidence to support that that is actually safe. There's never been scientific rigor put on that form of drilling. And what you're seeing in the last 10 years or so that they have been doing this kind of drilling is an enormous amount of contamination and citizens complaining from all across the United States and indeed all across the world that their water supplies have been contaminated with the natural gas itself and with the fracking chemicals.
Up until now, it's been left to the states to decide how to deal with the wastewater from fracking. Do you have any indication that we're going to see some uniform standards from the Environmental Protection Agency, the federal agency, in terms of how this wastewater is handled?
Well, I believe that the EPA is looking at wastewater right now, and they're coming up with new rules. I interviewed Administrator Lisa Jackson for our sequel to Gasland, Gasland 2, and she did say that they would be taking on wastewater issues, and the wastewater issues are very significant. You generate an enormous amount of chemical waste, this fracking waste, what the industry likes to call produced water, which is the water that comes back out of the well after the fracking has occurred. And that's millions of gallons of very, very hazardous waste, which is the fracking chemicals, also in contact down in the formation with normally occurring radioactive material. So a lot of this wastewater is radioactive. And then, of course, it comes into contact with volatile organic compounds, such as benzenes. So this is some very, very toxic waste. And currently, nobody really knows what to do with it. There are not adequate treatment facilities that are designed to treat this waste and then put it back into use. So it's being put through normal wastewater treatment facilities, and it has been shutting a lot of them down.
Josh, this is a time when America desperately needs jobs, it needs new sources of revenue, and it needs alternative energy sources. Can you see any way that hydraulic fracturing can be done safely, given the correct oversight?
Currently, no. I don't see that the industry is interested in dealing with these problems that they're having. We're talking about an enormous citizen outcry across the nation where fracking is occurring, that there are severe, severe problems. And these problems, as far as my research goes, are endemic to the entire process of fracking, which is to say the fractures themselves, the wastewater pits, and all of the different parts of this fracking procedure. If you wanted to test in every geology, in every regulatory atmosphere, how you would make this particular form of drilling safe, I would imagine that would be a multiple year, if not a decade long process. That's not something that this industry is willing to subject itself to.